正好双指上的提升吧，现在呢从他的全部内全部原因说完，正好双指上的提升的这位造康萨那样，这位造的能用三八呢，送几个空空托了这个就是吧，正好双指上的起码人把的这位造啊。人这个造的三脑人这他们这个造啊，动作啊，原因什么？这个真的，真神仙当送几个空空托把，这也记得老三个这咱们当的去年把原因，这种这样打发救。
The most essential, the most vital key point of all Dharma activity of whatever sort is and will forever remain the Bodhisattva resolve, the attitude that is known as bodhicitta, the awakened heart, which is exactly the attitude that allows us to concern ourselves in whichever way with the Dharma in order to bring about the greatest possible benefit and welfare for all beings rather than just for our petty little self. If we were to go about it in this way, we could rest assured that whatever positive, whatever good we might accumulate in the course of our concerning ourselves with the Dharma would become the cause of our own awakening of Buddhahood. Such merit that would in this way be accumulated would not be exhausted until we ourselves, for the sake of beings, would have brought about the irreversible awakening of omniscient Buddhahood. On the other hand, whatever positive deeds we perform not endowed with such an attitude, by all means, them being positive deeds will of course bring about positive results. However, once these results have been reaped, the cause will be exhausted and there will be no further result from whatever good we do without this bodhisattva resolve. Therefore, being here right now at this very moment, about to receive profound Dharma instructions, we could by all means resolve to give rise to this attitude and therefore begin to bring about welfare for all sorts of beings. To continue with yesterday's verse, Kamachagna goes on to say, even though further thoughts may manifest, they will quickly settle into stillness again. And that which is given the name, the appearance, as it says here, or the occurrence of stillness. We are, by the way, on page 270 at the end of the second verse in the English translation. This is all, of course, assuming that we have habituated ourselves to the practice of allowing our consciousness to simply look at itself and of being aware of what it is that is going on in our consciousness at any given time. If we have practiced accordingly, then mental activity that heretofore has seemed so troublesome will have come to subside to a certain extent, or so much so that during our session only eventually a thought will stir. Now we know what is to be done with these thoughts, namely simply to be aware of them, simply to leave them to themselves while being aware of there being a thought, which will cause the thought or the idea, whatever it might be, to subside again, to simply disappear again into wherever it has come from. Once we have brought about this state where relative tranquility has set in, with only a few thoughts stirring every now and then, This is called the occurrence or the appearance of stillness. This is also called, to a certain extent, the stability or the stabilization of stillness. It then goes on to say, while maintaining practice in this way, while continuing to try to practice in this particular way, training oneself to simply be aware, and to simply leave it at that without any alteration whatsoever, that eventually the experience of mind nature, of consciousness, looking at consciousness for that matter, will appear as clear, as pure, it will appear vividly, it will appear open, or its vividness and openness. So what needs to be done basically is nothing other to habituate oneself to simply looking at what it is that happens at any given time without attempting to do anything about it. Then the nature of that which we're looking at will clearly shine forth, will clearly arise, however, in such a way as to be completely beyond any formulation. It's not as if we could explain in any words how this mind nature of ours, how this consciousness that perceives consciousness is. It is beyond any such characterizations as color or shape, as a place where it comes from, where it dwells, or where it goes to. There is no such thing. Yet at the same time, it is also not just a complete nothingness, because it is and will forever remain the very basis of everything that we perceive in any which way with our senses, of everything that appears to our mind's eye, so to speak, of everything that consciousness is able to perceive or to become aware of. And once we have habituated ourselves to that sort of practice and maintain that sort of practice, then the experience will gradually dawn upon us, it will gradually arise within us, yet remain forever ungraspable, forever inexpressible. And this is what the second line of the verse here tries to express with words which very much basically are based on the experience of that phenomenon. Such words as it says in the English translation, limpidity or clarity, purity, vividness, openness, as Rinpoche added. These are all words which make a feeble attempt at explaining the empty nature of that which we come to perceive, which we come to understand to be our consciousness.
바로 가지게는 잠수가 아닌데 대연도 조와 중세 샤용 문에바 다니 선내바게 모두 용두도 너도 가지 샤나요 뒤내바자 생무모자 간 내바 용구이고 말이야 조와야 용두 생변 홍자네 야 용구도 조와의 템조도요 선내바게 모두 마 템조가 이제 지바 잠수다라 마르투라 니그라 발업 잠수 청소리 잠수니 좀 다른 청소를 때나 다른 생이 때나 나만들 탐지 생이 청소를 대인들 발업 잠수 청소 다른 청소를 때나 다른 생이 때나 나도 강하잖아 양 되게容易라 아니 되는 청소 당신 매바시
Kamachatma's verse goes on to say, for instance, just as a lake is undisturbed by its waves, even though a little movement might arise, it will cause no harm. The analogy that he uses here is that of a lake, or could just as well use an ocean, for example, any body of water that occasionally either appears still or there will be waves crashing about on its surface. The analogy he uses is a completely still lake. No wind is blowing, there are no waves on the surface of the lake, it is lying completely still, completely tranquil, like a mirror almost. If then all of a sudden a little bit of wind begins to blow and there should appear some waves on the ocean of on the surface of the lake, well, that doesn't matter a bit to the lake now, doesn't it? Of course, whether the lake appears completely still or there are waves on its surface, it will forever remain the lake. The waves that might appear are not different from the lake. The lake is of the nature of water, the waves are of the nature of water, and whether there are waves or not, it will always be water, it will always be the lake. It is just exactly the same with our consciousness. Our consciousness may appear completely tranquil, completely quiet, without any mental activity going on in it whatsoever, or the occasional thought may stir. If that thought appears in our consciousness, well, it doesn't matter at all to the consciousness. It is not as if the consciousness, our consciousness, or our mind nature for that matter, is disturbed in any which way by the thought movement, just as a lake or an ocean is not disturbed in any which way by the movement of a wave. It is simply its self-expression. It is the natural expression of a lake or an ocean to occasionally be still or occasionally show waves, just as it is the simply natural expression of mind or consciousness for that matter, to at one time or other be quiet and at the other time be active with thoughts or memories or what have you. So when such occurrences happen, it doesn't matter at all. There is no contradiction. It is not as if all of a sudden consciousness is out of the window, has been damaged in any which way, has been destroyed or anything for that matter. In exactly the same vein, the great master of yogins has instructed a student of his, saying to her, look at the lake and at its self-expression, the waves. They are no different from the lake in any which way whatsoever. So this is the same analogy that is being used here in order to demonstrate how thoughts, or whatever other mental activity, however we might call it, does not matter a bit, does not detract in any which way from the quality of our consciousness. Consciousness being either tranquil, completely still, completely restful, or being active with thoughts will forever remain the same thing. Essentially, there is no difference whatsoever between the two states.
Tenga gone on unity, Junka, and not Payamata by his seminary gone to the song. And non shooting China, Teacher gone now, Kaka, Tenga, San in Junguma.
이바데 우리가 하면서 때 우리가 검사하는 리미지
Junka, Tenga, Song, Aranta, Yanta, gone to the song, send it on. You Johnny, not much within us, Trumper. Then all in the teacher gone, send me a pardon, not to come, have a wrong road and go attend our cover young man. Some younger than some.
As Kamacharma continues to say, at times it will be like that, at times it will not. At times, even when attempting to meditate, even though posture may be the correct one, meditation will be difficult to come. So we may experience this in our own practice. At times, things will be just good. We will sit down, we will practice according to instructions, and it will work just fine, and there will be no thought activity on our minds. We will rest very peacefully, very tranquil, and everything is just nice and the way it was intended. However, at other times, things may not work out at all. No matter how much we try, no matter how perfectly we sit in the correct posture, for instance, the 7-point posture of Vairocana, even though all of that may have been brought about in the proper and the correct way, still meditation will not arise, or at least what we think to be meditation. So it can happen at all times that even though we're so well intended and sit down and try to do the right thing, it just doesn't happen for us.
Linga, Magam, Tetanka, Tene Ludi, Sendi, Jeleni, Kaka Soyam, and Teacher the Magam, Masam Yang, then Ranging, Kambika, San, Nepa Chambu, Nepa Muni, Jordan, Joatara, Rongo, Roa, Tendawa, Ronging, Chakri. Teyekana, Teni, Rudewa, Sen Dewa, Tendawa, Deji, the Netapa, Tendisi Yungri.
And then there are other times when, even when not attempting to meditate, when meditation will arise, so to speak. So even though we do not sit down properly with the intention of performing a meditation session, the state of meditation, the experience of meditation will arise. That's by all means possible, even if unintended. And if that is the case, Kamacharma goes on to say, one will rest in the experience of bliss of both body and mind, or consciousness for that matter. So, even at times when we try as hard as we might, things might not happen at all. It may just as well happen that it all of a sudden happens while being completely unintended. Referring to the previous line in which it said we will rest in the bliss of the body, mind, Kamacharma then continues to say that most activities such as walking about or sitting or anything of that sort will not be able to disturb that state, will not be able to disturb that experience. And on top of that, we will wish or give rise to the wish of enthusiastically continuing to meditate. So once we have come to that particular state, that our meditation for that matter appears in such a way that also experience of bliss, non-thought, etc. is being brought about, that when it comes down to it, our mind is completely quiescent, completely tranquil, like the surface of a lake that is completely undisturbed, then such activities as walking about or sitting or anything other of that sort, the most variety of such sort of activities will not be able to disturb that state of mind, will not be able to disturb that experience. They could be performed anyways, yet that state of experience of ours would remain like that. And that being the case, so to speak, encouraged through that experience, we will give rise to the enthusiasm of practicing ever more, of practicing meditation more and more, to the extent that we even might wish to want to do nothing other but meditating. We will be so encouraged by that experience that our enthusiasm for meditation will grow exponentially. At times you will possess such experience, of course referring again to the previous lines, even in your dreams. And if that is the case, you might think, my experiences and my realization have really become very good. So as a byproduct, so to speak, of our meditation practice, should it have progressed to that level already, that we can really rest in consciousness and simply leave it be, no matter what happens, no matter what appears in it, it could even happen that this extends into the dream state. We all every night, earlier or later, go to sleep, and for some, dreams will happen. And if one should have such experience, by all means it could happen that while dreaming one becomes aware of the fact that one is dreaming without waking up, while being able to continue the dream. And that would give us a great advantage, because recognizing the dream state as what it is, and at the same time being able to continue to dream, we are able to practice all sorts of things that are not possible in waking life. For instance, if we manage to grasp our dream, to recognize it as a dream, we could decide to use that opportunity to travel to the pure realms of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or to travel to the lower realms to see firsthand for ourselves how indeed really the suffering of beings in the hell realms, etc., presents itself. That is by all means possible in the dream state, if and when one is able to recognize the dream state for what it is. So all of this is basically a byproduct, a side effect of our experience that we bring about through our meditation practice. And by all means, it is possible for some then to eventually give rise to the idea that now things are really going as they should, and they would come up with the idea that, as Kamachakma says here, my experience and realization have really become good now. That is a thought or an idea that could by all means happen.
Yeah, so yin zamba tambo ji 대라 차기 무슨 뭐 나랑 영동 똑똑 최번지 야보요 선바 나를 생겨 다 좋아 생겨 니로 가마 대라 차바도 현만하고 대신 지금인데 단대 야보에 선바 제 차바도 현만하고 제나에 대라 차인사리 동안에 이게 내성 가요가 지금 뭐라 야니 되는 강구에
And exactly therein lies a certain danger. Because as Kamachakra says, once we give rise to this idea, experience and realization have really become wonderful now, we may develop both grasping as well as attachment, or fixation and attachment, as it says here. Because of course this is a rather pleasant state of affairs. We by all means wish to repeat this state of affairs. We wish to repeat this experience of tranquility, of clarity, insight. And we could be rather unhappy, displeased, if this experience does not occur all by itself again. So even though this is by all means a positive experience, our inability, our possible inability to repeat it would cause us distress because we have developed attachment, we have developed fixation to it. Like Kamachama goes on to advise, do not have attachment to it, but simply look at its very nature, or look at its very essence. So even such positive experiences of the described sort are not to be understood in the wrong way, are not to be grasped, and by all means should be nothing that we develop attachment to. Whatever it is that appears, and even if it be such happy experiences, such seemingly positive experiences, one should not grasp onto them, one should not get attached to them, but whatever it is that appears, simply and freshly look into its very essence. Appearing as bliss, yet essentially empty, or essentially emptiness, they arise as the unity or the inseparability of bliss and emptiness, which is nothing other but Mahamudra itself. So exactly for that reason we are called upon not to cling, not to grasp onto these experiences, because there is nothing to grasp onto, there is nothing to cling to, because even such experiences of bliss, of happiness, of emptiness are essentially empty of any self-nature whatsoever. What could there possibly be to grasp? What could there possibly be to become attached to? There is nothing whatsoever that we could characterize in any such way as to say this is the cause of my happiness, this is the cause of my bliss, this is the cause of my experience of emptiness. No such thing is there, therefore one would be well advised right from the start not to become attached, not to develop any preferences along these lines. By all means, when feeling or when experiencing such bliss coming together with emptiness, it is said that this produces a rather pleasurable feeling within ourselves, because that which is called the subtle channels and the energies which move through them, the winds and the very essences which ride upon these winds, have come in into their natural balance. That's an altogether pleasurable feeling which arises as bliss, yet when looked at clearly, even there is nothing to be grasped, even there is nothing that we could in any which way put the finger on. So therefore, all of that which causes us this experience of bliss is empty in and of itself. Nothing to grasp onto, nothing to get attached to. And we come to realize eventually then that these two, the experience of bliss and the experience of emptiness, are a unity. They come together, they come along together. They are not so to be separated in any which way. So therefore, they arise as the inseparability of bliss and emptiness, which is that which we call Mahamudra. Now for something completely different. It's been 12 years now since our center here has been established, and things have been going rather well in all that time, which is due in a great part to the diligence and the generosity of so many of you who have not held back with whatever help or whatever financial support they could give. And that being the case, one also has to say that because of the two organizations, of course, the Center here of Pension Prince of Ling as well as the LotusDirect help, not only the center but also the monastery, our pension monastery in Nepal, have greatly benefited due to the great kindness of so many who have contributed. Where our Center of Pension Prince of Ling here is concerned, things have been getting better and better for the last 12 years now and continue to get better, predominantly through the work of its committee members. First and foremost, of course, to be named are Karina and Bernd, who have for the last 12 years spent virtually every weekend here working and fixing things and getting things on the way. And of course also the other committee members and many other helpers who over the years have come here. In this way the center has grown bit by bit, year by year, and Rinpoche says that fills him with great happiness.
다 대다 시라 그 거동 난콩 그 거라서 통기는 나름 야보 연구요.
Where the Benchen Monastery in Nepal itself is concerned, a great help for the monastery and its residents comes through the invaluable work of the LotusDirect Trust. The monies that are being collected, the funds that are being sent regularly through the Lotus Trust to the Benchen Monastery are used predominantly for fooding and clothing of the monks. And thanks to having so many generous sponsors, we are now able to support, to the present moment, 325 ordained monks at the monastery, in such a way that over the years the quality of the daily food that is being offered, or the quality of clothing that is being offered to the monks has not deteriorated in any which way. All of this thanks to the great help that is being extended through all of the sponsors of the LotusDirect Trust. On top of that, Benchen Monastery also maintains a clinic, the Benchen Free Clinic, and particularly in Denmark, a group has established itself known as the Benchen Free Clinic Medical Foundation, who take care to a great extent of the necessary funds, medicaments, whatever is needed for the daily running of the clinic. There's also another small group in the United States of America who help with that project. And thanks to the continuing help that is being extended in this way through these foundations, the clinic can be open 5 days a week on very busy days, up to 35, 36 patients are being treated. Sometimes, of course, it's a bit less. There will at least be 18, 15 or 20 patients coming for treatment. All of this thanks to the help of these organizations. All of that good work, of course, is only possible through the voluntary work of those who are associated with the Benchen, with the LotusDirect Trust Committee, who in regular intervals get the funds together, transfer them to Nepal, make sure that everything is legally correct, such as sending receipts, receiving receipts, keeping the books, etc., and so forth. All of that work that is commonly involved with such transfers. And thanks to the work of the LotusDirect Trust committee members, this keeps going, is an ongoing regular flow of affairs. And again, it fills Rinpoche with great happiness that things run so very smoothly that way. Rinpoche is fully aware, he says, that all of this has only been possible through the continued generosity and the continued support of all of those involved. Both the center as well as the monastery have thus been kept going and continue to keep going. That being the case, in the monastery itself, Every year, large, extensive rituals, monastic rituals will be are being performed. These are the cause of the year, the big Vajrakila or Dojapurvadrupjan. Then in the alternating year there is the long, extensive Guru Rinpoche practice of the 10th day, as it is called. And then at the end of every year there is the long, extensive Mahakala practice. During these gatherings, during these extensive rituals, I always make sure that everybody concerned, particularly all the residents of the monastery, remember the kindness of all of those who make their life in the monastery as it happens possible. And we always make sure that during these rituals we pray for the benefit of these sponsors and all beings, of course, for that matter, so that they may be free of obstacles, free of hindrances, particularly for their understanding and practice of the Dharma. Also, in the course of this particular seminar here, on one of the following weekends, I will give the empowerment of Dharma Nola, which is a particular form of Guru Rinpoche in the form of a wealth or prosperity deity. Rinpoche says he has printed a large number of a small painting of this particular aspect of Guru Rinpoche known as Lama Nola. He has blessed or consecrated them with the repetition of the mantra of Lama Nola. And in the course of the empowerment, each and every participant will be handed one of these as a small present, as a small thank you, combined with the hope that also they may experience freedom from suffering, and particularly that they may experience happiness and prosperity. Yeah, what little time remains here, let us use it for familiarizing ourselves with MindNature itself. Let us now dedicate whatever merit we might have accumulated.